Whenever I look back, I still can't make sense of how anything I said or did ever justified the slaps, the punches, the violence inflicted on me. After the third or fourth time, I gave up fighting back. I didn't even try to run anymore. I finally accepted this was normal. I mean, not logically normal, just my normal. I mean, it must be, right? Because growing up, I always knew that my mom's nose was just a little bit crooked from my dad breaking it twice before I even turned 5 years old. And then when I went to live with my mom's only sister, me and my cousins, we were constantly woke up in the middle of the night, shuffled into the car, and driven 30 minutes to our grandma's house for fear that my uncle would come home in a rage. Normal. And after I went to move back with my mom, I remember that phone call where my uncle did come home in a rage. Pistol whipped my auntie, and she nearly fell into a coma. To this day, our family doesn't talk about any of this, not even a little bit. So maybe that's why, as an adult, I always thought that I didn't have a choice. That it was normal the times that I was being dragged by my hair, or the times that I almost passed out from being choked. And I remember several occasions where I would open my eyes and I would see my son witnessing all of this. And with the only thought going through my head, please, please let somebody take care of my baby if I die, right here and right now. How scared and trapped my son must have felt, and how it must be for so many young men witnessing violence as they grow up, whether it's against their mother, their brother, or their friends, afraid and powerless to do anything to stop it. Do they end up reaching for a gun for that power they so crave? I mean, well, some young men ultimately do. And then violence and trauma, it gets passed down again and again, the same way that domestic violence did in my own family, my grandma's home, my mother's home, and then in my own home. I mean, look, most people can cope with unaddressed trauma without ever picking up a gun. But I'm here to talk to you about those few young men that actually do. Those who resort to gun violence. Those who end up at the center of gun hostilities in urban communities. And those who were once 8-year-old boys experiencing violence themselves. My name is Joanne Frag, and I work with an organization called Advance Peace. And we know that most cyclical and retaliatory gun violence is perpetuated by less than 1% of a city's population. Yet that trauma, it tidal waves outward and affects entire cities. So we work with these young men, that 1%, and let me tell you that fewer than 5% of them were ever reached by a single social service or community organization. We invite these young men, so in need of care, to our fellowship. And it begins with an 18 to 24-month experience, not a program, an experience where they receive relentless, intensive mentoring and support. Cities partner with us, and when they do, we require at least a 3 to 5 year commitment. That way, we are afforded all the necessary time that we need to love on individuals. We build long-term, healthy, trusting relationships and provide positive alternatives to using gun violence to resolve conflicts. Every day, we attempt to instill a new normal in these young men. We get them to see it's not normal to have experienced as much violence as they have. Sounds of gunshots, knowing people who have been killed. We help them develop a life map, rewarding them for reaching their own goals and milestones, even subsidizing internships. And we walk them hand in hand to social service agencies. And we pair them with community elders, building intergenerational connections, demonstrating that a future is possible. So, multiple times a day, 7 different ways, we connect with these young men. And while every component is meaningful, there's one part of our fellowship that absolutely changes the way they see their world. It's something that we call transformative travel. Because I don't know about you all, but I know I get a little more pep in my step when I'm going on vacation. And it could be 3 hours away. Because, travel is powerful. It's exciting. And for the young men that we work with, it's full of firsts. First time seeing the ocean, first time seeing mountains. And these trips, it expands their sense of the possible and allows them to spend time in new environments where they can feel safe. We offer fellows the chance and the challenge to travel with people that are on opposite sides of local gun violence conflicts. People they say, those are my enemies. But away from where tensions run deep, young adversaries, they're able to see that they're more alike than different. Now, we normally surprise our fellows with the destination for these trips, taking them to South Africa, New York. But one year, we asked the fellows, where do you want to go? What would blow your mind? What would be amazing? Now, these are tough guys. So when the biggest, most intimidating fellow in the group began pushing for a trip to Disneyland, to Disneyland. That was not what I was expecting. So, and I wasn't alone, but once we figured out that he really wasn't kidding, oh my God, we were sure this was gonna be a disaster. But I'll tell you, everybody, and I mean everybody, staff included, had an absolute ball. Getting on all the rides, joking around, buying cotton candy. Tough guys walking around Disneyland with Mickey Mouse ears on. They loved it. And at the end of the day, most of them said it was the best day of their life. One even said he was coming back with his daughter. Now, a trip doesn't just miraculously transform a person, but something important can happen. Every single one of those big tough guys, they were once an 8-year-old boy who experienced too much violence, too much trauma, and way too much pain. Every single one of those young men, they deserve to know that that normal was not normal. And every single one of them still deserves a shot at the healthy experiences that other 8-year-old boys have. Mickey Mouse ears, cotton candy, feeling safe, feeling happy, falling asleep in the car ride on the way home, knowing that no one will hurt you, knowing people in your community love you, knowing you have talents, and knowing you could live a long, healthy life, and knowing, truly knowing, that you can handle the hard feelings. We aim for this normal, and as we do, in one city at a time, gun violence reduction is the new normal. But I do want to say, I dedicate that to my son, Julian, and happy birthday, CB. Thank you all.